Welcome to this edition of FM On Demand. I'm your host, Mike Bizalka. Today I'm speaking with Bill Guerrero, Vice President of Finance and Administration at Ithaca College, who is going to talk about the campus dining program's conversion to self-operation a couple years ago and the takeaways from that experience. Bill, thank you for joining us today. Let me start by asking why you decided to go self-op back in 2019 and what were the benefits you were looking for?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we went self-op back in 2019, and certainly the benefits that we were looking for is really just in response to our students. We were just listening to our students first and foremost. And those aspects really related to certainly meal plan price, solving food insecurity, trying to get some local partners within our community, and really looking at that flexibility of the type of meal plans. So we were looking at all those aspects, and certainly it wasn't. We looked at other opportunities, other partners. I mean, really good companies out there like Sodexo, Aramark, Harvest Table, obviously, and Compass. But ultimately, our students were we wanted to listen to, and that's what drew us to the self-operating model.
Okay. What does the program need to bring to a self-op conversion in terms of capabilities and support systems and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that that is the perfect question. Number one is you needed executive sponsorship. You need executive sponsorship to even investigate this idea. So certainly it helps as the vice president or CFO. And I come with over 21 years in the dining side. In my particular roles, working with a lot of those great companies, great partners. So I had certainly the experience to kind of see if there was an opportunity on the surface, but you need a lot of really good partners. Some of your prior podcasts, some of those folks were excellent in the search process to see if this makes sense or not. I mean, I know you interviewed Cam or Cameron up at University of Rochester, but other folks that were really helpful in this process was Dustin Cutler from Cornell. Mm-hmm. And Kevin D'Onofrio, certainly, one of those, really stellar, really awesome professionals in the food service management expertise or arena. And then, certainly Ken too is, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. I mean, these are the self-operating gurus. And so certainly those are great resources. But again, you needed someone like, myself to kind of push it forward, really good staff that had that desire. And then ultimately, you needed your president and your board of trustees to kind of believe and think that you can execute this, because it's certainly without that support system, not easy, definitely not an easy prospect.
I would imagine it's not. What do you see as the biggest risks of taking this self-op path?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest risk on, if any of your listeners, any of the schools out there that are interested, I mean, I was excited to see other schools certainly called me and tried to check, to see what would work, what doesn't work, why do we do it? And then you see schools like Johns Hopkins or Georgia Tech going down that path. Mm-hmm. It is definitely not for everybody. And I'm certainly not here to say it's for everybody, because there's a lot of really good companies out there. But I would say the biggest risks out there is, number one, the HR side. You got to make sure you retain a lot of your good talent. If you're a union shop or non-union shop, that's a big one. But partnering with your HR team, you got to see what capital investment or unamortized capital investment that exists out there. Mm-hmm. So that's a risk if your campus doesn't have the dollars to be able to do that. And then I would say IT risk. IT risk is a big one, because a lot of people don't realize like who owns the menus, who mm-hmm. owns the recipes, let alone not just your menu management system or your point of sale system, but that's your biggest risks in this endeavor. But if you have your students behind you, really helpful. But I would say the last risk is students, parents, they turn over every 4 years. and they have really short-term memories. And so in a year, they don't remember if you were contracted or self-operated. They just want the best program in their viewpoint at that time.
Well, that sounds certainly true. Of course, you did this decision a couple of years ago before something kind of dramatic that happened this last spring. How does the whole COVID experience affect how the decision has been playing out over the last year?
Yeah, it certainly makes people, think twice. I would just say that it makes people think twice because, again, as I said, it's not for everybody. It's not for every institution, and some level of comfort is when you have, an outsourced third party, such as those really good companies out there that have the economy of scale, that have the research, have the systems in place that can really, really help an institution like Ithaca College to get their programs up and running, especially when a crisis or a pandemic happens. So it makes people think twice. Do you know what you're doing? But I would say that the pandemic, certainly in the middle of this kind of transition, allowed us to really, really strengthen our systems. And when I say strengthen our systems, really get our labor costs figured out, really get our menu management system and recipes all figured out perfectly. And then really getting our food costs, ultimately leading into that, getting our food costs really, really organized and set up with our broadliner. So I think it allowed us, frankly, for us, an opportunity to really, really sharpen our operating procedure. So it actually did help us.
Looking back, what would you do differently if you knew then what you know now? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to it earlier, was really partner with your human resources.
Mhm.
And so at my school, human resources doesn't report to the CFO. In some schools that does happen. But at my school, it did not. And I would say partner beforehand because it's a monumental task to onboard. For us, it was 118 employees. So to onboard them all on one particular day. So when you do the transition to, let's say, June 1, we're starting self-operation. So when you onboard, it requires a lot more work. When you talk about benefits, you talk about grandfathering, length of service at an institution. When you think about the retirement plans, you think about tuition remission, all these really, really positive things. But really partner with them. And we had a great partnership with our HR team, but initially just the understanding of what the undertaking was, we could have done it earlier. We definitely could have done it earlier and it really helped on our employees.
Bill, thank you so much for giving us some of these insights. It's obviously not a decision for everyone, but it's something some FM readers might want to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Take care.